Hello, everyone, and welcome to our EllieMD educational series. We're thrilled to have you with us tonight as part of our mission to empower people to live longer, healthier lives. At EllieMD, we're more than just a telehealth company. We're committed to providing you with the knowledge, community, and innovative healthcare solutions you need to thrive. Tonight, I'm so excited to welcome Dr. Josiah Wagner. Dr. Wagner, DCN MPH, is a leading expert in spinal health, nutrition, and peptide therapy. With his extensive background in chronic care and integrative health, Dr. Wagner will dive into the powerful benefits of NAD, glutathione, peptide stacking, and more to boost longevity and enhance overall wellness. Dr. Wagner, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and hopefully I'm not too long-winded with all my sharing today because I feel like I have a lot to say for sure.
I know, I'm excited. Let's just start at the beginning. I know you gave us a little teaser, but can you share with
Mhm.
us your passion and why you got into peptide therapy and integrative medicine as a
Mhm.
whole? Can you share with our listeners tonight?
Yeah, of course. I'll give a short story about it. So basically, I was a very competitive athlete, specifically a gymnast, and that takes a lot of wear and tear on your body. And I had a lot of injuries from that. And, there was really no answers within the typical medical system other than, the surgery route. But unfortunately, I didn't need to go the surgery route, but I still had some aches and pains. And, later on in my life, I got exposed to peptide therapy and was able to heal a lot of those injuries just from peptides. And I was like, wow, there's something really here that if I can help regenerate a 20-year-old injury with these peptides, what else can you do? And then that kind of set me down the rabbit hole of, optimizing hormone therapy, peptide therapy, nutritional therapy, exosome therapy, as well as stem cell therapy, and seeing how these things are all integrated together. You don't have to really like choose one. So really understanding the fundamental principles of how peptides work in the body, what they are, and how we can use all these different therapies from hormone therapy, again, stem cell, exosome, and peptide therapy, all synergistically together to be able to take people from whatever is ailing them, whether it's weight loss issues, depression, mental health issues, hormone issues, to really take them from that spot to a wellness state, and then even into anti-aging and advanced therapy. So there's so much that we can do in this space that it's just so exciting. I get to learn every day, and it's just like there's so many people that are hungry for this knowledge and to experience like true health rather than just symptom management.
Oh, I love that. And we hit it off by talking about that. You mentioned shifting the paradigm of healthcare from sick
Mm,
care to true healthcare and healing. And that's something that we're passionate about, we talk about here. And something else that you mentioned is that you go and teach clinics and doctors how to
mm.
use peptides, because can you explain why doctors aren't trained on peptide therapy? Why don't they don't have the knowledge that they should?
Yeah, and it's not their fault either. You're not taught these things in medical school. You're not taught about nutrition, and you're definitely not taught about peptides. You're more taught about disease, pathology, and pharmacology. So if there is a symptom, then there is a pill or a medication to put out that symptom, but without recognizing the intelligence of the body. And the body is always trying to reach a state of homeostasis, and the body is always trying to heal itself. Like, so for example, when you cut your hand, what does it do? The hand doesn't say, I need this medication to heal. The body has its own innate intelligence where it's going to start to naturally start to heal that cut. So think of all these symptoms or these diseases as little cuts on the inside, and they manifest through the body with symptoms. And those are more of like signalings that, hey, there's something going on and the body is in a healing crisis. Now, again, going back to that cut on the hand, what would prevent that hand from healing? What would prevent that hand from healing is if there was like debris in there, if there was like a thorn in there. So, same thing with the internal body. If your body's not healing, it could be due to toxicity issues, heavy metals, parasites, leaky gut. So, it's more about removing the interference of why the body is not healing. And that's really what peptides help to do, because it works with the natural intelligence of the body rather than against it. So first you have to change your paradigm and believe first that your body was created perfectly and it has the ability to heal and it's not broken. It's just that we need to remove the thing that is causing it not to heal and then help it heal with upregulating some of these systems through peptide therapy. So we're making the cell actually more efficient by using these peptide signaling molecules.
Okay, so for individuals who are brand new to peptide therapy, this is the
Mhm.
first time they're tuning in and hearing all about it. Can you explain what a peptide is? Let's break it down to
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah. So the simple thing is a peptide is just a branch of amino acids, and it's smaller chains of amino acids. So you have like smaller chains and larger chains. So it's just like these smaller chains of amino acids. Different structures make up different peptides. But again, at the end of the day, all the peptides are their signaling molecules, and they're signaling molecules that your body recognizes because your body naturally produces a lot of these peptides. It's just like as we age these peptides are downregulated. Like, again, for example, when you're 10 or 12 or even 16, like you can miss a night of sleep and you don't even miss a beat. You can not work out, not eat perfect, stay up all night, and then you feel fine because a lot of those systems are highly upregulated. They're very fresh. But let's say when you get 30, you miss sleep by like 30 minutes, you're off for a week. Like your body cannot respond the same because it doesn't have that same resiliency. So, with adding the peptides back in, we're adding that resiliency back to your body. And we're basically telling your body to help it to remember what it used to be able to do.
I love that. So, glutathione is something that we're launching on Monday,
Mm-hmm.
and we're so excited about it. Can you share with us what glutathione is? Let's dive into some of the peptides that we do offer. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what is glutathione? What does it do? What makes it a powerful, whatever it is? Maybe share with us some insights on glutathione specifically.
Yeah. So, glutathione, it's considered your body's master antioxidant. Now, why are antioxidants important? Antioxidants are important because your body produces a lot of ROSs, reactive oxygen species. And if these reactive oxygen species build up within your body, these are just naturally metabolic waste products that your body builds up. But if your body is not able to process it, it kind of causes your body to rust from the inside out, as well as again it helps neutralize a lot of foreign substances that our body has to deal with on a regular day basis. So I mean we're exposed to xenoestrogens, plastics, flame retardants, pesticides. If your body can't process that, then again those start to build up and then we lead to disease. So that's where glutathione is super super important. So glutathione, again, it's the master antioxidant of your body. It helps your body with detoxification. That's the most important thing. Now, two of the most important amino acids of glutathione are cysteine and glycine. So, cysteine and glycine are sulfur bearing amino acids, and they actually help with your body to produce glutathione. But again, the problem is like as we age, as we're exposed to more toxins within our environment, stress, we're not living optimal lifestyles, our body downregulates its production of glutathione. So we need to help optimize our body's ability to detox to basically keep our body clean. And so it's running at high efficiency. So being able to introduce glutathione exogenously through supplementation helps keep your body clean and running efficiently. So again, it really helps. So now let's go into what like detoxification is, because that's a term that I hear thrown around a lot, like, oh, I need to detox or I need to, but like, what does that mean? So your body goes through two phases of detoxification. It goes through what's called as like phase one, phase two detoxification. And in the middle right there, that's where it needs glutathione to take it from a phase one to a phase two. So phase one is basically taking these fat soluble toxins that are floating around in your bloodstream, converting them to phase two to where it can be excreted through the body without causing any harm. Now, let's say though you don't have that glutathione molecule though, it's going to stay in that phase one phase and then the body's going to have to store it in adipose tissue. So then it's going to have to store it in your body, and that's where you start to build up these high reserves of toxins within your body. So a lot of times people don't need to lower their calories. They need to do more of like a detoxification process to help keep the cell efficiency up.
And also, like, I know it helps the liver detox. What other role does the liver play in removing toxins out of the body, right? Can you elaborate a little bit more?
What
Running a
what other role does the liver play within the body? Well, so the liver within Chinese medicine, the liver is actually considered the king of all organs because it's that important. It's considered the organ of longevity because your liver helps with the conversion of your hormones. So it plays a huge issue in your hormones. It filters all your blood every 3 to 5 minutes. There's really nothing that the liver doesn't do. It's so vitally important to the rest of your body. And again, most of your glutathione production is manufactured in the liver as well too. So that's how it keeps this whole system clean and running well. So there's just so much I could say about this. I'm just like trying to keep it to like the main points without getting too rabbit trailed. So that's why I kind of like take a second. So
No problem. Let's talk about the skin health benefits and the glow that the glow from the inside that you get with glutathione. Can you elaborate how that works?
yeah. So one thing I just want to make a framework first of like what is the skin? Because a lot of times we try to put things on externally to beautify ourselves and beautify our skin. So if we feel like there's issues or blemishes with the skin, it's because of an outside thing. It's actually from an inside out thing. Your skin is considered your largest organ, and it's actually your largest detoxification organ within the body. So if there's something wrong with your skin, there's actually something wrong internally with your body. So again, looking at Chinese medicine, there's all these different charts where you can look at the face, you can look at the tongue, and depending on the complexion of the skin, it actually is linking to different organs and things that are actually going on within the body. So if your body is actually toxic on the inside, it's going to show on the outside. So it's not so much about using products on the outside to nourish the skin. It's more about using things on the inside to nourish the skin as well too. So simple things is by taking that glutathione, again, the blood is going to go through the liver every 3 to 5 minutes. You have that glutathione, and it's going to take all those fat soluble toxins that are stuck in your body and in your blood, convert them from that phase 1 to that phase 2 process, and then your body is going to easily just excrete that. And then what that natural process is because that clean blood is going to go to your skin and nourish the skin with nutrients, oxygen, and vitamins. Then the skin is actually going to look healthy as an indirect result of taking care of the inside. So again, there's so many things that we can do in terms of like modification of the skin and improving skin health without actually putting something topically on side of the skin and focusing on the internal environment and how we modify the internal condition.
Now, in the world of longevity, as you know, we call it
Mhm.
inflammaging, and inflammation is huge, right, when it comes to aging of the body and senescence. So, can you touch on how glutathione can help the body not only recover but also reduce inflammation, and maybe just elaborate a little bit on what is inflammation, how it works, why it ages your body, and what role glutathione can play in that?
Mhm. So inflammation is never like a root cause issue in and of itself. It's more again of like your check engine light that something is going on. So inflammation is not in and of itself short term, it's not a bad thing. So like for example, if I rolled my ankle's gonna swell up, and we call that the inflammation. I need that inflammation because it's going to tell my body that this area needs more blood, more nutrients, more growth factors, more of the stem cell production to help heal that. Where we run into problems is with these chronic inflammation issues. And again, the underlying issue of the inflammation is usually due to, again, like a toxicity issue, uh, poor lifestyle and diet, as well as exposure to like pesticides, heavy metals, gut dysbiosis. Those are all the things underlying the inflammation. So we can take things like glutathione to help kind of bring that inflammation down, but we want to make sure that we're working on those underlying issues as well too, of emptying out whatever is potentially causing that inflammatory issue.
Okay. And can you perhaps elaborate a little bit more on what happens once you reduce the inflammation through supplementing with glutathione? What ends up ultimately, what does that lead to when it comes to
Well, I mean, your
ending?
body's going to be running cleaner and it's not going to be using as much energy and resources kind of dealing with that inflammation issue because again, you got to think of your body. I want to give some like big concepts first. So you got to think of your body and it has a to-do list of things to do, okay? And let's say that, and I'm going to tie an NAD to this as well too. So let's say your to-do list that your body has for maintenance is like 50K. All right. So like breathing, digestion, respiration, healing and repair, that costs 50K to able to do that. And let's say your body produces 100K. So that's great. You know, we can cover those issues right there. Your body can maintain itself, it can still heal, it can still keep things running, it can digest, it can eliminate, it can do what you need to do. But the problem is now we add on inflammation to that or inflammaging. So it's going to cause you to age more from the inside out. So then you're going to get a down regulation of those energy productions. You're going to be producing less glutathione. You're going to start feeling all of these symptoms because now when you add toxicity, when you add down regulation of glutathione, when you add the inflammation from, again, these chronic diseases that your body is possessing, now it's going to cost you 250K just to maintain normal day function. And this is where most patients are. They go into the doctor's office, they feel terrible, they do their blood work is within range. The doctor tells them, hey, you're okay. Everything's within range. But they're like, doc, like, I feel terrible. Low energy, brain fog, no motivation. Like these are all the signs that your body is struggling to keep up with its daily operations because again, it's costing you 250K just to function. Some people can't even feel like they can make it through their day. And you're only on a 100K budget. So this is where, you know, if we add in the glutathione, we remove some of that inflammation, and then we can remove some of that overhead cost of what it's costing your body. So now you feel like you're starting to make a little bit of progress. Now you bring that down to like 150K as opposed to 250K. So now it's like, okay, I'm making some progress, feeling a little bit better, feeling a little bit more positive. My body feels like it's going in the right direction. But now let's boost that up again. Let's try to bring you even here. So this is where we can add in NAD because NAD is going to be more of the focus on the energy production, DNA repair, and mitochondria function. So now if we can add in some NAD, we brought you up to 150K or even 200K. And now not only are you meeting the deficit of what your body is trying to do on a day-to-day basis, but now you're over exceeding it. So now this is where you're starting to make more progress. And then you can start to make those lifestyle changes that you need to make in order to kind of empty out that rain barrel bucket again to get you down to like that 50K maintenance mode again. But this is where a lot of clinics fail in is like you got these symptoms going on, they don't seem related. We don't know what to do. So let's try a few of these things as opposed to this is what I'm going to have you do for these 8 to 12 weeks right here. We're going to go to this system right here again, 8 to 12 weeks, and then we're going to do this one system as well too. So systematically, what we're doing is we're helping with some of the underlying issues. We're giving your body the energy that it needs. And then again, this is where we can implement a lot of these really cool peptides and anti-aging compounds to even help advance a lot of these things. Does that make sense at all?
No, no, completely. I love it. Thank you for the
Okay.
explanation. Now, I have another question. If you go on Amazon, you can find glutathione supplementation. And why should you take it in injection form versus a oral supplement form, or what's available over the counter versus what is prescribed by a doctor and sent through a compounding pharmacy?
Mhm.
What are the benefits?
Yeah, and this is going to answer a lot of questions, not only with like glutathione. I'm going to answer this question in terms of glutathione, NAD, and peptides as well too, because the problem is most people's, and even if this wasn't the case, but most people's digestive system is already compromised. So we're already under digesting and assimilating less than what we should just because we have so much inflammation and gut dysbiosis going on anyways. Now, when you take these oral supplements, it doesn't get into the bloodstream at the same efficiency as if you were to do like an IV or an IM injection. That's going to get straight into the bloodstream and your body's going to absorb more of it and it's going to be more potent and you're going to get a stronger effect, whether it's glutathione, NAD, or any of the peptides. I'm really not a fan of taking any of the peptides or any of the NAD supplements orally or even glutathione because the effect is just not as strong. Like maybe if we weren't as sick and we didn't live in as toxic of an environment as we did, like maybe it would help, but that's just not the case.
Mm, mm. So it's interesting. It was when we announced the launch of glutathione, someone was saying, well, a lot of the benefits that you just listed sound very similar to what NAD offers. And so maybe
Mm,
you could touch on who can benefit the most from glutathione. What kind of an individual would you recommend glutathione absolutely get on it? Or is it to everyone? Or and then maybe you could get into stacking a little bit of what would work synergistically very well with glutathione. I know you mentioned NAD, but maybe we
mhm.
touch on other peptides, those secretagogues and so forth.
Well, the reason they sound similar is because, again, one is going to indirectly help the other. So, NAD is produced in the cell from the mitochondria to help produce ATP. The reason we're using glutathione is because we're trying to increase the efficiency of the cell. And if the efficiency of the cell works better, your cell is going to be able to produce more NAD and ATP. So that's why there's like an overlap of how they work. Honestly, anyone can benefit from doing a cycle of glutathione because, again, we're just exposed to so many things on a regular day basis that helping your body give it a little boost every once in a while either can help you out of a chronic condition or just help to maintain a, a state of health and wellness. So, I mean, your guests can kind of like look these up. Just look at some of the treatments that glutathione is being studied for. It's being studied for Alzheimer's, depression, cognitive decline, ADHD, cardiovascular issues, leaky gut issues, as well as like liver damage issues. So, I mean, just by reading off that list, I think anyone can definitely benefit from doing a couple cycles, throughout the year just to maintain an optimal level of health.
You typically write protocols for these things, and our glutathione will come in a 8 to 10 week cycle, right? It's
Mhm.
offered for 2 months. How often should you do cycle throughout the year? So do you, it's 2 times a week right now. Our protocols 2 times a week for 2 months. How often should you do this? Should you do this every 3, 4 months, get off of it, come back on, or can you just stay on this lifelong and do your injections?
Yeah, and again, that's going to be individual based on the patient, where they are and how they're responding, and also what other therapies they're doing. But a good general like rule of thumb is, and you can be on it anywhere from like 8 to 12 weeks at a time, and then you take a typically like 4 to 6 weeks off, and then you can go 8 to 12 weeks again. So again, this is going to be individual based, and this is this is why in the health space, everyone claims to have like the next miracle supplement because for that one person, maybe glutathione is that one key thing that they needed that radically changed their health. So for that person, that if glutathione made that big of a difference, they should continue to cycle it. And then for other people, they might notice small differences or small improvements, but it doesn't mean that it's doing something. It just means that it's part of their whole holistic care plan, but it's not like the full piece. You know, none of these things are miracle supplements in and of itself. That's why we really need to understand all of these things and cycling through all of these things together because glutathione is not going to solve all your problems. NAD is not going to solve all your problems. Hormone therapy is not going to solve all your problems. Like none of these things by themselves are going to solve your problems. They're all just a piece of the puzzle.
Mhm. Now, we have a lot of individuals on this call who are on GLP-1 medications, either
Mhm,
microdosing it or they're taking it for its weight loss benefits.
mhm,
Um, how can glutathione complement GLP-1 uh,
mhm.
therapy?
Well, that's a simple one because we know what GLPs do. So it decreases appetite, increases metabolic rate. So it's going to help with that weight loss process. So as your body is breaking down that subcutaneous tissue, again, what we talked about is if those toxins don't go through that phase one to phase two, it has to store it in adipose tissue. So as people are losing weight, they're going to be losing more toxins. So we want to upregulate glutathione production to make sure that as we're losing that weight, that adipose tissue, that those toxins that are being released are going from that phase one to that phase two so that it is getting excreted out through the body.
Mm. I have someone, I'm going to start taking some of the questions. Thank you for responding to that. Someone wrote, how do peptides help with dementia, Alzheimer's, mental clarity? And I had someone prior to that, right? Would you speak to the benefits of supplementing glutathione for brain health, especially in reference to aging? I think you touched on it, but maybe you
Mhm.
can elaborate.
Yeah, so again, fundamentally, let's understand what glutathione is doing. It's helping to keep the body clean. It's helping to keep your blood clean, and then the blood nourishes the brain. So if we can keep the body clean, that's going to keep every organ within the rest of your system clean and running well before a lot of these things break down. Because again, a lot of cognitive issues are actually based or rooted in an immune dysfunction. So it's actually the immune system that goes off first. But what is causing the immune system to go off? It's because our body's not able to properly detoxify because we have low levels of glutathione. So then we have an overactive immune system. A lot of times can lead to autoimmune cases to where the body starts to attack itself. And then those autoimmune cases bleed into these cognitive issues, whether it's Alzheimer's, dementia, cognitive decline. So it really starts at a root issue of making sure that the body is staying clean through using glutathione to make sure that the body is excreting a lot of these toxins and waste products so that we don't run into the down regulation in the immune system and then the cognitive decline as well too.
Mm, thank you for that explanation. Now, Michael wrote, people who are worried about things being natural, how would you address this? I think if I Michael or Michelle, I'm sorry. I think you mean well, it isn't glutathione, it's an amino acid. It's your body has it, it's a tripeptide. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe you could elaborate on touch on that versus I guess people who think GLP-1s or peptides in general.
Mm-hmm.
How do they compare to pharmaceutical drugs and people who are worried about things being natural? I guess we could segue into that.
So are we talking about, just want to clarify a little bit more, are we more concerned about we're taking glutathione and are we worried about it not being a natural process and we want to just focus on the body's natural ability to produce glutathione? Is that
I
what
think
we're worried?
Yeah, I think that's what, or taking the synthetic version as opposed to getting it for food. I think maybe that.
Sure, sure. Well, unfortunately, nothing in our environment is really natural anymore. I'm under artificial light right now. Um, my clothes are synthetic. The air that we breathe has so many chemicals in it as well too. So like, nothing in our environment is natural. We've artificially modified everything in our environment. So you can eat, try to get the proper nutrients from food. And again, that's great if you can do that like 80%. But again, there's some people that, you know, you need to optimize more. So you need to take some of these compounded versions that your body knows what to do with. And again, it's not, you're still taking something natural that your body still recognizes. And I think the benefits far outweigh any of the concerns that someone would have with taking, whether it's glutathione or the GLPs or any of these peptide products. To me, the benefits far outweigh that. Because again, our environment is not natural at all. Nothing about it is natural anymore.
Yeah, thank you. You're absolutely right. Now, on the topic of autoimmune disease, I came across a video where this gentleman was saying, I was able to cure my body and my autoimmune disease through, taking out fast food and junk food and supplementing with glutathione. Can you touch on how glutathione helps with autoimmune disease specifically?
Mhm. Yeah, again, a lot of these autoimmune cases, and you can look up studies, 90% of autoimmune cases actually have to deal with gut dysbiosis. And gut dysbiosis actually has to deal with all the pesticides that our body is exposed to. The pesticides, the herbicides, and the fungicides, whether it's like on our food and in our environment, because not only is that going to kill the bad bacteria, but it's going to kill the good bacteria within your system. And again, what is glutathione doing? It's helping your body detox from those pesticides that are building up within your adipose tissue that is stopping your body from regenerating to help build back a healthy microbiome. So if you don't have that healthy microbiome, that's going to lead to either hyper or hypoactive immune system to where you are manifesting a lot of these cases. So again, going back to the testimony that you brought up, like that's great that he was able to clean up his diet and supplement with glutathione and fix his autoimmune case. Like to him, again, that was the answer. But again, for someone else, it might be a little bit more complicated than that because we don't know what everything that they were exposed to and how their systems work. So that's why I lean on the side of caution that it's not one thing that's going to fix you. It's a whole host of things like changing your diet, reducing stress, proper supplementation, adding in some of like these peptides, NAD, glutathione. But again, knowing how to stack these things intelligently to be able to take a person systematically from point A to point B so you're not always guessing. And again, understanding the individuality of each patient, and each patient is not like a cookie cutter approach. So just because, you know, so and so got their results from changing their diet and simply supplementing from glutathione, and then they tell everyone that that's all you need to do. That's good because they're excited about that, but then that can also be frustrating for the person that that doesn't happen to. Because let's say, you know, Joe tries to do the same thing and he doesn't get the same results. He thinks he's broken and he's beyond help. So it's again, the most important thing is understanding the fundamental principles of how the body works and how these things work within the body, because then we don't have to guess with these patients. We can take patients, whether they have autoimmune cases, weight loss issues, hormone issues, sleep issues, insomnia, Alzheimer's, dementia, leaky gut. We can apply the principles knowing exactly what to do, and we can be confident that we can help them no matter where they're at. And then also get them to a state of optimization to where if you have like a high performer who wants to focus on more longevity issues, we can still employ the same principles and not guess and treat them as the individual patient that they are.
Yeah, gosh, I have so many questions for you, and I'm trying to mentally pick and choose
And I'm trying
which
to keep
questions.
this
So I'm
short
like, out
too.
of
So
no. I mean, I'm excited by everything that you're saying. So, uh,
mhm.
and I know that we have to wrap up shortly, but so for individuals, a lot of people are on GLP-1 medications either for weight loss or it's anti-inflammatory, cardiovascular, all different types of benefits. They're microdosing it. Is there anything else? So maybe you could quickly touch on stacking, what that is in the world of peptides. With the peptide world, these are diehard fans. They know what they're doing. They've studied it, the research.
Yeah.
Maybe you could touch a little on stacking, what that is, the
Mm.
general term that's used, and anything else that individuals can stack while on GLP-1s to both preserve muscle, help with
Yeah.
fat loss, get detox their bodies, boost energy, metabolism, all that great stuff. Maybe you could
Mm.
give us, round us up and then give us some wise additional words.
All right. I'm going to be honest, this will probably not be short, but
Okay.
I'll try to keep it short. So, stacking is, it's more of a term. The way I like to use it is I'm thinking of how can I utilize multiple different systems for synergy to help get a patient again from point A to point B the fastest. Because again, a lot of people are just sick and tired and we just want results. And it's like, how fast can we get you there without running into side effects? So, some of my favorite stacks with the GLPs specifically, because again, if we just take the GLP by itself, whether it's semaglutide or tirzepatide, with tirzepatide, at least we have the GIP, so we're increasing metabolic rate. So with the total weight reduction, we're going to see less of the muscle wasting from using the tirzepatide as opposed to using just the semaglutide, which is the GLP-1, where we're decreasing hunger because muscle is expensive. And if you decrease your calories, the first thing that starts to go is muscle. And the problem with that is if we lose too much muscle, we slow down our metabolism. And if we slow down our metabolism, then your body becomes more weight resistant. So where it's holding on to the weight. So this is where we run into the patients on GLPs and we crank them up to the highest dose and they're like, I'm not responding anymore. Well, it's like your body doesn't know what to do anymore because your body wants to survive. So what we can do is we can utilize stacking so we don't have to continually increase the dose of the GLPs, but we're getting similar results. But then we're also holding on to muscle and we're increasing the metabolic rate at the same time. So some of my favorite ones to stack with the GLPs, they're called growth hormone secretagogues. And so under growth hormone secretagogues, we have two categories. We have GHRHs, which stand for growth hormone releasing hormones. And then we have one that's called GHRPs, which are growth hormone releasing peptides. Now, I'm going to go through the first group first. So there's three common ones that fall under the GHRH. And I'm going to talk about them in order from weakest to strongest. So the weakest one, or the shortest half-life one, is going to be sermorelin. Sermorelin has the shortest half-life. Now, what these GHRHs do is they send a signal to the anterior pituitary gland to start the production of growth hormone. Now, the second one with a longer half-life is going to be called CJC 1295. So that's a good middle of the road one. It has a longer half-life, a stronger effect on the production. Now, the strongest, the one that has the strongest effects, it's called tesamorelin, and it's actually FDA approved for HIV patients with helping with visceral fat. So the other ones target more of like the adipose fat. This one targets the visceral fat. And we know visceral fat is actually linked more to these cognitive decline issues, whether it's Alzheimer's, dementia, or insulin resistance. So those are the first three within that GHRH category. So it starts the production. But we want to make sure that we get the release of that growth hormone throughout the entire body. So now we have these GHRPs. The I'm gonna talk about them. I'm talk about which ones I like and don't like. So the first one is called hexarelin. Second one is called MK677, which a lot of bodybuilders love, or it goes by the name ibutamorin. And then the last one is called ipamorelin. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm not a fan of the first two. I'm not a fan of hexarelin or MK677 for two reasons. One is it increases prolactin, and two, it increases cortisol. And then a third reason is it actually causes a physiological release of growth hormone. So now that you've got a super physiological release of growth hormone, your body actually leads to desensitization of those growth hormone receptors. So that's where I like the ipamorelin. So for the most part, you want to always kind of pair a GHRH with a GHRP. So you have the production and then your body has the release, because the way that growth hormone works, it works on what's called as a pulsatile system. So it's released multiple times throughout the day, but you get the strongest pulse of it between about 10 and 12 at night. So that's when you get the strongest release of it. So we want the production and we want the release. Now, something that we run into too is like now that we have this increase in growth hormone, it's going to help you with lean muscle mass retention. It's going to help improve levels of stage 4 sleep that we know that declines as we age. And by improving sleep, you're going to improve satiety because a bad night of sleep that throws off ghrelin and then your hunger senses are all thrown off. So we're going to improve sleep, we're going to decrease inflammation, and we're going to help support the immune system. So growth hormone is a very comprehensive molecule in and of itself of the anti-aging, the muscle sparing, and improving levels of recovery as well too.
Mm.
Now, here's a limiting factor though. Your body's producing all this growth hormone, but you need these growth hormone receptors. So if we don't have the receptors, which again, chronic disease leads to a decrease in the receptors, how can we increase the receptors to get more bang for our buck out of these growth hormone secretagogues that we just implemented right here? This is where I like to stack it with BPC 157. So most people know BPC 157 as like the healing molecule. It helps with your ligaments, tendons, joints. If you get a shoulder issue, it's going to help with the shoulder. It can help with your elbow, your knee, any type of those injuries, as well as help with gut issues, as well as help to regenerate the liver. But the real magic is you have all this growth hormone and then it increases the amount of growth hormone receptors. So now you just potentiated the effect of that growth hormone peptide and you just magnified it by 20. So that person's going to get that even stronger of an effect throughout the entire body. So that's what's nice again about using these things through injection as opposed to oral supplements because you get more of the systemic response than the local response. And then typically I have patients on that for about 8 to 12 weeks. And now I've kind of optimized that growth hormone system and I don't want them to plateau. So typically I'll go to like a mitochondria optimizing peptides because we want to optimize mitochondria function, increase NAD. So you can that's where you can use like glutathione, NAD. One of my favorites is SS31 that I like to use as well too, because that's going to increase mitochondria function. It specifically helps with like the outer layer of the cell with repair of mitochondria as well too. You run that for 8 weeks, and then when you cycle back to that growth hormone peptide, it's going to work even better than it did the first time. So that's where like you kind of like sandwich these things. It's like growth hormone, mitochondria ones, then growth hormone. And again, we can talk about like a whole host of ones because there's peptides for skin rejuvenation, immune system. There's so many ones that we can talk, but we need to focus on optimizing the fundamental principles first, and then we can use other ones such as like TB500, TA1, Epitalon, which is another longevity one. So then we can kind of like do that based on like the individual patient of what we need to focus on. So that's just like a small stack of like how we kind of like optimize these systems.
Wow. Wow. It's like that's a lot of information. And I know that you promised you'll stay with us. Uh, we'll do monthly trainings and
Mhm.
hopefully distribute more and more information for our community on how to stack properly. But we do offer some Moreland. We do offer, some of the things that you mentioned. We do offer
Yeah.
NAD. BPC is a great one. Guys, do you think
Mhm.
that's a future product coming your way? I think so many people are talking about it, and it's something that we are considering. But I would love for you to help our community learn how to stack these peptides and rotate on and off of them. So thank you so much for sharing that knowledge and the information. There's so much here, guys, and very little time, a lot of information, but this was extremely, extremely valuable. Thank you so much, Dr. Wagner, for coming on, educating our community. We're excited about you and look forward to having you back on next month. Thank you so much. Thank you all
Yeah.
for tuning in as well. Thank you.